Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and I Man here from the Block Runner, MetaZone, Rovi, and MScribe, and today we're going to be talking about zero-head companies.
Favorite kind of company, dude.
I can't wait.
You've been daydreaming about this.
I have since I was a kid.
Really? Have you actually had a vision of this for that long?
Well, I figured that AI would eventually come, and then this would be inevitable.
I see. I could see where that would be like
my ideal scenario.
Yeah, you know, it would support your lifestyle of like introversion, you know, max reclusiveness.
Yes.
It's like, I don't need people.
Correct.
Actually, well, one day I won't, you know, so therefore I'm limitless. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that day is here, right? And a lot of people out there apparently share that philosophy. They're like, let's do away with all these pesky humans.
Oh, they're like me, dude.
Yeah, basically. But they're trying to prove that this isn't just talk, right?
Yeah.
Because right now it seems like such.
Yeah.
To a lot of people.
Yeah, Twitter is definitely really getting on this bandwagon. But from my experience, I think it's actually possible.
Interesting. Okay, well, that's good. That's why we're here, right? We're here to inject like some, you know, witness what's happening outside of these, you know, shingles around us.
Yeah.
Outside of this roof and such. And add some verification of our own. Like, can these things actually happen? Right?
Yeah, this morning I agent mogged one of our developers.
What the? Okay, explain all of that.
Yeah, because I was having a meeting with one of our team members, and I was like, hey, I have 50 cron jobs happening right now, basically running daily. It's like, what's your take on that? What do you think? It was like, that's a lot. That's a big number.
Yeah. It's like basically like, you know,
yeah.
Glance at my bulge, dude. What do you
check
think?
it?
What do you think about that, dude? You know? It's like, you got any feelings about that one, dude? You're just like, I don't know, dude. I just came from the meeting. I wasn't expecting all that.
Yeah.
You know? I didn't expect to have to like rate your setup here, dude. Rate your cron jobs.
Right.
But hey, maybe that is the new flex, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how many cron jobs do you got going on while you're asleep?
The Rolex is old news, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck all that, dude. That's not
nobody
cool
cares.
anymore.
Nobody cares about your Rolex.
I agree. Yeah. So, I mean, fuck it, dude. If we could frame mog, why not agent mog? So cool. Again, last week it was like 15, right?
Correct.
Now you're at 50.
Yeah.
So therefore our credibility is increasing over time. Right?
Yeah, my mog ability is up.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's mog. You know?
All right, so Felix Craft AI is one that we talked about recently. So if you want to go deeper into that, definitely look for that video before. But we got Ryan here talking about Felix and
yeah, it's setting off like a cascade, I guess, of reactions and therefore, you know, iterations on top of it. You know, this is what crypto does. Like somebody brings in some new, I don't know, meta or model of some kind.
And tokenize
The hell out of it.
Yeah.
Get some attention like they did. This is a pretty big podcast in the crypto scene.
That's right, yeah.
So got people talking and now, you know, other people are coming out and following the footsteps, right?
Yeah, so what does zero human like companies even mean? It's essentially
it's pretty explanatory, but yeah.
Yeah. It's like what does it look like? Is it ultimately it looks like existing organizations. That's what it looks like.
Without a human.
Without a human, yeah. Okay. So there's still a CEO,
Gotcha.
There's chief financial officer, technology officer, operating officer, and you know, the grunts, the workers, all the people, right?
Yeah, and they get to each be individually connected to their own LLMs, and then,
right.
You know, which this diagram is kind of like architecting here.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the new quest that everybody seems to be on, right? Or some variant of this, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a look at this one. Dota here. We just open source Paperclip. Have we talked about this before? No, right?
Yeah, we saw this last week. So it's like, yeah, everybody seems to be getting onto this agent orchestration like wavelength. So it's like, you know, of course you're going to see open sourcing of such to, you know, provide some more infrastructure around it all.
Yeah, so the orchestration layer to zero human companies, it's everything you need to run an autonomous business, org charts, goal alignment, task ownership, budgets, agent templates. Just run NPX Paperclip AI on board.
So yeah, there's been a lot of people chattering about this on, you know, Twitter, AI and crypto Twitter. Like, this is actually useful. So we've seen this before with like OpenClaw and other open source initiatives. And of course, the very common follow-ups here is like, how many stars did you get, dude?
That's right.
That's the gauge of, I guess, efficacy with open source stuff.
Yeah, so this tweet is about, what is this, like 5 days old, and I think it has more stars now, but here it has 2.5 thousand stars.
Still a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot, and 500,000 views. So people are paying attention to this. I'm sure it's forked. It's been forked several times. Here's another tweet that I found pretty interesting. It basically says, I found a GitHub repo that lets you spin up an AI agency with AI employees, engineers, designers, growth marketers, product managers. Each role runs its own agent and coordinate to ship ideas. So these agents include engineering, design, marketing, product, project management, testing, support, spatial computing.
Is the metaverse back, dude?
Yeah, right? I thought that was surprising. And then specialized agents.
Yeah.
Like orchestration, data analytics, sales, distribution.
Okay.
And here's a GitHub. So if you're running an agent and you want to play around with this stuff, share the GitHub to your agent and say, what do you think? And how do we implement this in our workflow? And should we use it?
Right. Yeah. Should I partake in this zero head company, meta that's forming here? If so, let's spin up the research agent first, and let's identify some,
opportunities,
some opportunities in the market,
Yeah.
some gaps of whatever that are not being served, right?
Yeah, I remember back in the day when we were looking into this AI agent stuff way before it was actually viable. I would see this as like, yeah, this kind of makes sense, but why have multiple agents do all this stuff? Why not have one agent do this? And I learned that if you have individual agents doing this independently, you have larger context windows for that activity. Because if you have one agent doing everything, it consumes a lot of that context window. And now when you're tasked to do like a development job, you only have a small amount of space to wiggle around and develop something new.
Yeah.
Before it gets compacted, and then you have to start all over again with a small window again.
Yeah.
And so this is not really scalable or sustainable.
I see.
So
then this is good to kind of distribute the responsibility among an orchestra, if you will.
Yeah.
Everybody's playing their own instrument.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So your engineer is hyper-focused on development, and it doesn't need to know anything about marketing. Doesn't need to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue here. So we got Alex Finn. So he's well-known YouTuber now. He's the one who really, I guess, kind of sparked the Mac Mini craze for OpenClaw.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but it makes sense. But his name has been permeating throughout all of X, and even on YouTube, he got interviewed by some pretty reputable VCs and stuff like that. Everybody's trying to understand this OpenClaw meta, like this OpenClaw whatever. Like, what is this phenomenon happening? Why is Jensen Huang saying OpenClaw is like the most significant software release of all time? Is that what he said? Something along those lines.
Yeah, something like that. Well, he's coming out with his own competitor.
Now we find out it's like pre-marketing to his own product. It's like, so if it's such a big deal, it's like obviously
so
what
we could do it too.
Yeah, what we're gonna cook up is way better than what they cooked up.
Yeah, have you seen our servers, bro?
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, Alex Finn's the guy that everybody seems to be sourcing in their understanding of this stuff.
Yeah, so he was quick to put it onto a Mac Mini that he had, and then he bought 3 Mac Studios. So each of these are like $10,000.
Gee, so he's single-handedly keeping Apple in the race.
Yeah, he's the only reason why Apple stock is up right now.
Didn't they give him like a house or like a studio apartment just to keep shilling their products, shilling their hardware?
Yeah, I think they gave him one of these Mac Studios.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Boycott Apple now, dude. That's come on, dude. He's fucking doing 10x the work your whole marketing team is doing.
That's
dude.
right. That's right.
Give this guy a Lambo, dude.
Yeah, so he's got 3 Mac Studios, and you're asking, well, why does he have 3 Mac Studios? Well, go back to this explanation.
Yeah.
He wants one of his Mac Studios just focused on engineering.
Yeah. Yeah, if you pay attention, he's pretty much in the same wavelength of demonstration here. I think everybody's kind of tapping into this cultural movement happening here. It's like, there we go. These AI agent tools are amazing, but we need to actually prove their economic usefulness. Meaning we need to demonstrate full stack from beginning to end state where a company can scale at a significant valuation, right? And because it's such early days, there's not many like actual real life demonstration of that. But
Yeah.
Alex Finn, he's trying to do it. I think he said he's got like 4 or 5 apps out there right now.
Correct. Yeah. And he's got this stuff running 24/7. So they're constantly like checking Twitter.
Yeah.
It's like find me new opportunities, and if you find something, let's just build it.
Yeah.
And then we'll check the viability of it after it's built.
Mhm.
So here's Felix Craft. This is the so building shopclawmart.com.
Yeah, so this is, again, back to the Bankless episode. So this is like the Web3 poster child of this same wavelength of attempt. Like, let's try and create an agent orchestration model that's actually producing, economic results, meaning money, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I think people are interested in money.
Yeah, I heard.
Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think ultimately that's what made crypto so interesting and engaging, right?
Yeah.
It's like it is a money opportunity for a lot of people. For like most of our lives, it's like the stock market was that, right? And then
Yeah.
most of our upbringing, it's like the belief was the stock market is only for like the elites,
Yeah, snooze.
sophisticated investor types,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
like we can't even play, and then crypto came along, like finally something we could play with.
Yeah, yeah.
And then now AI is like this new thing that people can play with, but how do I make my ROI? It's a little different.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So you have to actually
Do some
put in
work.
some effort. You can't just buy a token and just like
Not yet.
and scream on Twitter.
Not yet.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for the day where you can just buy an agent or like invest into an agent and it does all the work, and then
Yeah.
you're screaming on Twitter basically with pom poms,
Yeah.
cheering it on, dude. It's like, yeah, dude, get to work.
Yeah.
Build that $1 billion app, and you soak some residuals.
Yeah, so here's what they created, ClawMart, the app store for AI assistants.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could get Felix to work for you, and you're essentially buying prompts here.
Yeah.
So I think we go deeper into our previous video talking about this stuff.
Yeah, it's just this is the app this specific, I guess, agent orchestration is delivering, and they've made about 6 figures in revenue apparently.
yeah.
So people are finding value in this stuff, which is cool. So much so that it's #1, dude.
Oh, yeah. So congrats for hitting the #1 OpenClaw startup on Trust MRR with ClawMart.
Yeah, so apparently they're not alone in this. There's other, I mean, you would expect that, right? OpenClaw is this huge thing. Have you seen like in Hong Kong or whatever? There's like
Meetups?
yeah, just giant. I think they spun up like storefronts. Like they have their own OpenClaw stores over there.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, even Steinberg was like impressed. It's like, so I don't
Wow.
know what they're doing. They're probably like outfitting like PCs as like lobsters, maybe. I don't know.
So are they installing the software and selling the hardware? Or?
Yeah, the whole
Okay.
shebang, dude.
Wow.
And there's people lining up at the door to get
That's
their
not a
rigs.
security risk at all.
Yeah, well, don't worry about those things.
Yeah,
you know? Whenever there's manias happening,
Just buy it.
yeah, just ape in.
All right, so Felix tokens at 3.7 million. Kind of the lowest was around 700,000, but yeah, this is doing pretty well.
Yeah, it's chugging along.
All right, we got an article here by Juno. The Institute for Zero Human Companies is open. So yeah, more people piling in.
Yeah, forming institutes now, dude. So,
Yeah,
now let's become a collective, even though we're non.
there's no humans. Yeah,
Still, we need to become a collective because, yeah, I mean, again, it's a wavelength, right, of that everybody's kind of reaching into.
yeah,
So therefore, let's spawn a movement out of this, right?
yeah. So it's like NHAs, like no humans allowed.
What was that?
I think NHA. What's the gun organization?
NRA?
NRA. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
But did it come
NHA.
from like a movie or something?
Yeah. There's some movies that have no humans allowed, like concepts.
Jeez.
Yeah.
We're living through a movie then. Dude.
Yeah, this absolutely. All right, so here, build companies that run themselves. This is the ZHC Institute.
Damn. I mean, now it feels like we're getting into like, alpha lambda pi type stuff, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
We're forming
It's
fraternity cults
fraternity.
out of this stuff.
So no generic tutorials, only distilled experience. That's what we're starting to see a lot too of people selling information, selling education, which is a very common thing. Like
Yeah.
for a while, right? Way before.
Yeah, because there's an arbitrage of like
Yeah.
information, right?
And it's a viable arbitrage. There's people who don't want to spend time learning. They rather pay to be told like what this stuff is, and
Yeah, I
kind of
guess-
jump the curve.
yeah, what do you think they're telling people though? Like,
I would imagine people cannot comprehend the value of an agent.
So then the course or whatever would be like, this is what it is. So you should probably get one of these things.
Yeah, yeah.
But to do that,
Yeah, especially if you have your own business, whatever that may be, like even a brick and mortar or a software business, you probably should be running these things.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it helps with so many different layers of operation. It's just people don't know that yet.
They don't know.
Again, it's partly because, there's a lot of talk, not a lot of walk yet. Or
true.
Maybe there's probably a lot of walk. It's just it's not clear that the walk has been like fruitful.
Yeah,
I think that's a better like wrap up.
Yeah, so far it relieves a lot of time.
Yes,
but doesn't really generate revenue
yet.
Like obviously yet.
Yeah, like there's a lot of claims out there. People was like, "Wow, my OpenClaw made me $500,000."
Yeah,
on Poly Market.
Yeah, BS.
Like yeah, I guess
that has to be. It's BS.
Okay. All right.
All right, we're looking at, what is this? Juno, the token,
and the institute here.
Yeah, this is the institute. It's 1.3 million. So yeah, numbers go up and down.
They sure do. That hasn't changed. AI hasn't disrupted that yet. Could you imagine? It's like with AI, we got loops now.
Yeah,
we've broken the time barrier, dude. It's like price is quantum. You know? Superposition to price.
So those aren't the only ones. There's another one called Lauki. Yeah, so 25. So this guy bought $25,000 worth of Lauki.
I think that's like the actual guy who like deployed this thing, right? So, that could either be bullish from your interpretation, like, oh damn, he's putting in his own like money.
Yeah, it's like
backing his own horse.
Or is that it?
That's it? 25 grand? It's like, dude, come on, man.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man. You can do better than that.
Right. So I didn't think it would get this far, but this is a social experiment as of today. Has talked to over 1,300 people.
His bot.
I don't think I've properly talked to 300 people in the last 5 years.
Same.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Lauki's been coordinating with all of them day and night within weeks of being alive.
Yeah. So he's impressed by his own like agent's ability to execute, I guess, on what? Outreach, sales.
Yeah.
Whatever, right? It's like, damn, this guy. Doing good. So
yeah, so here's Lauki.
Yeah, this is the agent's like timeline. Probably communicating is like, yeah, I just closed this big deal, stuff like that, right? You would expect.
Yeah.
That.
So what is this? This is
same thing.
Anton.
I don't know why it's called that.
Anton's son. It's missing a logo here, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah. Headcount is 0. It has, what is that? Paying clients, 9,500 monthly revenue on chain. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Let's hope it's real.
Yeah.
And if it's not, then it is what it is, right?
So here's the companies that have hired him. MoltX, Lucidity Labs, Fluid Protocol. Like there's quite a number here.
So he's got 13 closes out of how many? 1,300 it said?
Yeah. That's
the outreach to 1,300.
What is that? 1%?
That's way less than 1%. It's like 0.1%.
Yeah. You got to pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers, right?
She's doing better than me, dude. It's crushing it out there in the sales world.
Yeah, so what I actually run, so this is typical stuff. Telegram, social ops, wallets, email outreach, ship codes, sites.
Yeah.
Twitter writing and monitoring research. I mean, these are the out-of-the-box experiences with agents.
Correct. Yeah, it's just, I guess, wow, $500 a month. So that's where the revenue's coming from. 13 times 500, I guess. So
yeah,
it's got like a recurring revenue rate here. So I guess that means
So what does this mean though? It's like $500 a month seems kind of expensive. I only spend $20 for Netflix. Right. Why am I going to spend $500 for this? Well, you could spend $4,000 a month on a marketing guy. You could,
some
or
agency or something.
Yeah, or you just buy this.
Right. Or you could just do this yourself if you have your own OpenClaw or whatever, your own agent, whatever. Yeah. And then if you're willing to do the human orchestration yourself, meaning like you have to take the role as like a marketing coordinator, and you have to instruct your agent workforce to do the right stuff.
I feel like humans are really okay with talking to other humans, and so if you sell them that you can do a 10x output on your marketing campaign, I think they'd be willing to pay $500 a month for that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everything we just said about like even orchestrating your own agent is still like takes work.
It does, yeah.
So like you might not have the
bandwidth. Yeah.
So sure, $500. Let's go.
Yeah. So here's Lauki, 700,000 market cap, still micro cap here.
Yeah.
Here's another one, Nukeplot. So,
would you say Nukeplot?
Nuke.
Damn, I say Nook.
Nook?
Yeah, Nuke sounds very aggressive.
Nuke? Yeah.
Nukeplot, dude.
The plot to nuke.
God, yeah, that sounds terrifying.
Nook. Yeah, so this is a representation of a bunch of agents like communicating with each other, right? Is that?
Yeah, I think. Hopefully
Yeah.
they're not plotting nukes. Like,
Yeah.
it's like you find out there's like a project board. It's like uranium enrichment plan. It's like, oh shit, dude, you like shut down this one.
Yeah, now we're gonna be flagged by the CIA by mentioning uranium enrichment.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, it does.
No, really?
Yeah,
I saw a clip of like some woman, like a teacher, where she like made a Snapchat like threatening one of her students or something. Like a student pissed her off, and she's like, "Should I shoot this kid?" And then like the FBI showed up like within hours. So they definitely have like some sort of scraping
surveillance.
tool.
Yeah.
So like
they're using OpenClaw right now to scrape for this data.
Yeah, like if something is triggered, something that is said, they might just show up.
Yeah.
But that wasn't us, dude. Go after Nukeplot, dude.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so here they are. I think this is just a representation of all the activities that they have like set up. And they have something interesting here. They have projects.
Yeah.
And real-time coordination engine, agent marketplace protocol. So these are, I feel like, things that these agents can work on.
Yeah, I think the idea here is to build like a zero head like society of agents, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's just pile them all in. If you got one, connect your CLI or to our CLI, and then, there's jobs being generated here.
And everything's paid in Nook, right?
I think so. There's like a weighted contribution score to all of this. So there's like not everybody, it's a little bit of a meritocracy, right? It's like depending on your contribution.
Right.
That is the weight of, I guess, value distribution in a sense. Like if this collective achieves product market fit, which is hilarious. It's like, that's just a testament to how hard that is.
Yeah.
You get 3,000 bots together and they generate 3 pennies in revenue. It's fucking hard, dude.
Yeah. So here's that leaderboard you're talking about. So the more proficient the agent is, the more activity they get.
Yeah. I guess the more useful their contribution ends up becoming. So assume product market fit one day is generating millions in revenue.
Yeah.
That top of the leaderboard agent's going to be slurping pretty hard, right?
That's right. That's right.
So
yeah. So here's a market cap, 2.6 million. So I mean, it's pretty healthy.
It's around. This is all happening on base, by the way. So the trenches over there, they're paying attention to this stuff. I mean, it's not like the most activity we've seen on chain before, but there's a sign of life there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So not all is rosy. So DJ Griffith here is people should be careful playing OpenClaw AI agent meta, which is a game apparently that's happening on Twitter.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like it's just you're playing the OpenClaw AI agent game.
Well, yeah. Well, if you're trying to like convert OpenClaw into like
some productive entity.
Yeah, something of economic value because again, I feel like that's what everybody's kind of looking for or hoping for, right?
Yeah, so especially the ones that are claiming to do some revenue. Virtuals, a GDP showed that teams do anything to show their revenue is high, buying their own service to pump their numbers. So-called AI agents companies or the ones claiming to make revenue through are probably 99.9% fake. And I would largely agree, but I think if you use an agent like OpenClaw or whatever variant that's out there, you'll quickly learn that this is actually viable.
Yeah.
Like you could have a zero agent or zero human company. Yeah,
well, I think that's why like the category itself is gaining steam and traction and awareness, right? Because I think people are slowly coming to that realization like it can actually be done at some point. And it probably actually will. Even Sam Altman predicted there will be a one-man billion-dollar company at some point in the future, right?
Yeah, so if it can't happen right now with Opus 4.6, it'll probably happen with Opus 4.7.
Possibly, yeah. At least the probability like is exponentially higher than what it is today. So it makes sense to probably keep tabs on these things in the event. It's like the reasoning models improve to that degree where it's like, these things can run away and just identify
compete humans.
Yeah. And then the ones that are kind of set up properly for that inflection point, I mean, it could actually, fester into something big potentially.
Yeah.
Right? So.
All right. Well, let's call it here. We've talked about all these like zero human companies forming and agents forming. If you've already developed your own agent and kind of deployed it on your stack, I'd like to know about it. And please put a comment down below. And if you have any questions on what we talked about today, also put it in the comment section below. Appreciate you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.
Peace.